Hello. Earlier this year, the year of our Lord, Hendrik, 2024, I made a video ranking all of the Dragon Quest games that I've played. If you watch this video, you will see at the bottom of the list, I put a game called Dragon Quest Heroes 2. In this video, I was a little salty, I'll admit. I spoke about some of the issues I took with the game, particularly extra XP Wednesdays. I also brought up a bunch of other aspects of the game that I didn't particularly take well to. During this time, I was speaking to fellow Dragon Quest creator and a good friend of mine, Dookie, and he brought up that him and his good friend DG Online do an annual fundraising stream for Crohn's and Colitis Canada. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, you'll know that I started this channel when I got out of hospital after a pretty grim flare-up of Crohn's disease. So this cause means an awful lot to me. When Dookie asked me to take part in this stream, I was delighted. I was absolutely on board. We decided that we should probably play a Dragon Quest game. But there are very few Dragon Quest games that are actually online and that are easily available to play online. So we decided to go with Dragon Quest Heroes 2. I thought, yeah, sure, all I have to do is go in the online mode, do a few bosses, be grand. Because this stream isn't taking place until October 19th, 2024. And we had this conversation probably back in May or June. That is when, in late August, I got a message from Dookie asking me how I was progressing with the game because he was at level 80 and, of course, we would be taking on legacy bosses. I realised that I didn't really have a proper save file in the game. I hadn't really played it since my video. That meant I had just about a month and a half to level up. But
say the line, Bart!
I said, feck it, opened up the game, and we go. I played most of the game before, so the first few areas were grand. Yeah, I got through Greener Pastures, Denesia, and the Lumberlands. Most of the bosses were fine. If you're familiar with the game, it's kind of like a Dynasty Warriors clone, a beat 'em up style game. It's not turn-based like the other Dragon Quest games. So about 10 hours in, I get to an area called the Great Divide. This was my first challenge. I'm going to describe one of the issues that I had with the game that I'm assuming are very common in this style of game, but definitely not for me. There are these missions that are kind of like escort and protection missions where you'll be put in a map. There will be monsters that spawn other monsters placed in different corners of the map. There will be a character or a statue or some kind of item that you have to protect. But you also need to get to these monster spawners. They're called Maw Keepers, and kill them so they stop spawning monsters, all while protecting whoever you're protecting. In this part of the game, you're protecting the King of Accordia or the King of Harba. And the thing about the Great Divide is the king will really want to help you in fighting the monsters, even though they have a very limited amount of HP and they're not very good at killing the monsters. So while you're running to other parts of the map trying to kill the Maw Keepers, they're running into the heat of battle, just getting themselves killed. And you just have to try and manage your time. The worst part is the Great Divide is about like 3 or 4 stages. And if you let the king die at any of these stages, you will be sent back to the start of the Great Divide. And for me, this could be like a good 30 minutes into the battle, and then I have to reset all of it. And that, for me, friends, is not fun for me. But thankfully, while I was streaming the game, good friend and a beloved community member, Ken, who will be joining us on October 19th, was giving me all the best advice, all the great tips. So big shout out to Ken for helping me out there. I knew what kind of monster medals to get and how to navigate the battle to make it a little bit less difficult. Ken also helped me out with a lot of the features and aspects of the game and different benefits to avail of to prevent any stalling or to help me when I very often got lost in the game. So after a few attempts, I beat the Great Divide And I was so happy. I was celebrating. I was a good 15 hours into my save file. And that's when Dookie came into stream and dropped a bit of a bombshell. I'll just put the clip here. Press the touchpad, you can see a bigger portion of the battle in your mini-map. The touchpad? I'm using a Switch controller. Oh shit, I just realized something. You're playing the PlayStation version. Oh my god. Yeah, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. I'm not. So I need to make it clear Dookie is not at fault here. He had said he was playing on PlayStation 4 back in June, but enough time had passed that it had just slipped my mind. It's also worth mentioning I was also biting off more than I could chew. I wanted to become a gladiator and get the gladiator up to level 60. So that entails leveling up a warrior to level 20, then leveling up a martial artist to level 20. So by the time I had beaten the Great Divide, I had leveled up both vocations to level 20, and that took an awful lot of grinding and time at that stage. It's my own fault. I should have remembered that Dookie was playing on PlayStation. So I had to start again. But on my actual PlayStation, the only save file I had was only a few hours into the game, and it was only just past Tunisia, which is like the first main area of the game. So I had to go from the Lumberlands again, and of course, the Great Divide, where I got to reunite with my good friend, the King of Accordia, who can't look after himself. Look at him going there. Jesus. What a weapon. Anyway, I honed in all my skills from my last playthrough, got through it without too much bother, got back to level 20 on Martial Artist, back to level 20 on the Warrior, and this was all before I got met with possibly the worst boss battle I've ever encountered in my life. So it's this genie on a cloud and a big bird. They spawn monsters called mud mannequins. Mud mannequins can cast a spell that has a wide range that makes anybody in its perimeter dance. They can spawn like a bunch of these guys, and you're in a tiny ring, so there's very little space to move around without getting dancified. So this one took me a few attempts. We got there in the end. So yeah, after sitting in my shame corner, getting back on the horse, dying on the horse a bunch of times, we were back to where I was. That's what matters. And I was ready to continue my quest in the game that God forgot. The next few sections of the game had very little to note. I was getting through them pretty okay. I was fairly locked in at this point, and I will admit, with a bit of shame, this game is really fun. Like, it's really, really fun. Once you're into it, it's such an aesthetically beautiful game. The controls are so smooth, and it's just such a good game to like just put on a podcast and play away. The story is actually really engaging. The characters are super lovable. Getting to reunite with all the characters from other Dragon Quest games is just such a nice nostalgia trip. I'm sorry for what I said. I will be better, okay? But it was only a matter of time before I'd have to have a showdown with my sworn enemy once again, the King of Accordia. And instead of protecting him this time, you have to fight him. And there's two of them. This boss battle almost bested me. There's not so much frustration in it, it's just that it's really difficult. And not too far into the boss battle, half my party had died. I'd run out of Yggdrasil leaves. And then my healer died.
My priest!
So it was just Maribel. Oh, also worth noting, my party at this stage was the two heroes you can choose from. So I had a gladiator and a priest, and I had Maribel and Elena. Leveling up the gladiator had been fine. It was a bit of a pushback to go all the way back to level 1 again because I was aiming for level 60, but I was just too stubborn about it. But in this battle, it was just Maribel against the dreaded king, and I just decided I'd just spam attacks, spam spells. I should have just reset at this point, but it wasn't over until it was over. And boy howdy, did we get there. The phantom thread linking me to Dragon Quest VII grows stronger every day, and I especially found out at this time that Maribel could very possibly be based off the Irish legend Gronya whale. I was named after Gronya Whale. I also found out Dragon Quest VII for the 3DS came out on my birthday as well. It's all connected.
This whole thing, all of this, it's all about me.
So I decided from then on that I was actually not going to use my gladiator anymore. I was going to use Maribel as my character in Dookie's stream. I was so drunk off my luck from that boss battle, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to go for level 60. I'm going for level 99. To be honest, a week before this, I was pretty stressed and I wasn't even going to get close to level 60. So I had pure notions, honestly. But to complete this challenge, I had to beat the whole game. So time was fast approaching for me to take on the final dungeon, which isn't too bad. It's just a whole trial of different bosses and tasks and, of course, more protection missions. But I was prepared, found grinding spots, I worked really hard. I got to level 52 and I took on the final boss, and I took him down in less than 2 minutes. But I forgot it was a Dragon Quest game. There's always a phase 2. This guy was tough, especially because he can heal mid-battle, but I managed to get him on the first try. I was still feeling like a victor of the gods at this stage. We were going for it, level 99. But here is where the fun begins, my friends. This is the part where I conjure up ideas in my head and find certain exploits to level up quickly, as I do. So I beat the game and got this wonderful cutscene that I ended up using in my community night on Twitch in a custom What the Dub game I made that was Dragon Quest themed.
Hey, are you
If that one was
okay?
real for people.
I have hemorrhoids.
And I went on my merry way. Ken gave me the tip of going to greener pastures in the Dark World. If using Maribel, you spam her Uber throw on clusters of monsters, the spawn rate of Metal King Slimes does increase. This method was good, but I wanted to expedite this as much as possible. So I did a bunch of searching on GameFAQs on Reddit. I saw one post that led me to the bottom right corner of the Dark Dunes. If you go around in a circle in this kind of crevice, you can kill a bunch of clusters of monsters and also spawn King Metal Slimes. And you can go to Red Rock Ravine in the Dark World, and there's an oval circuit you can go around and kill a bunch of monsters there, and Metal Slime spawn very often there. I couldn't figure out which one to go for, so I decided to do some math. I did 15-minute trials where I just spent 15 minutes in the game. I marked every time I encountered a Metal Slime of any kind, and at the very end I tallied up how much XP I had before I started the trial and how much XP I had at the end, and was able to calculate how much XP I would get per hour. This is where it gets interesting. So greener pastures in the Dark World turned out to be very low XP gains, so that was already out of the question. In Red Rock Ravine, the Metal King spawn rate was very high. You were encountering like maybe 3 or 4 per 15 minutes. But in my trial of the Dark Dunes, I discovered that if you're fighting a monster with a red dot above his head, and if you beat him under a certain time, you'll get a thing called a breakneck bonus. This only kind of works for a temporary amount of time because once you get to a certain level, those red dots disappear. So you'd have to find stronger enemies. But if you're in the kind of mid-range of the levels and you spam Maribel's Firebird Throw, Giga Throw, and Uber Throw kind of over and over, you're pretty much guaranteed a breakneck bonus, which can really boost your XP. And of course, if you fought enough Metal Slimes, you're going to get your elevating shoes, quite like in the Dragon Quest VII one. But these also get you 20% extra XP from every battle. So while I encountered more Metal Slimes in Red Rock Ravine, I actually got a pretty similar amount of XP just from generally fighting in the Dark Dunes. So this was really ideal because that meant instead of relying on RNG, it was almost a guarantee in the Dark Dunes. So that's where I went for a good chunk of my XP grinding. And once I got to a certain level, I switched over to Red Rock Ravine, where I could get as many Metal Slimes as possible. Another thing to note is that if you go back to Ingenia and you're fighting monsters in the square area, you will encounter much more like liquid metals and general metal slimes, which don't drop as much XP, but because they spawn far more frequently, you have a higher chance of getting something called a Quicksilver Key. The Quicksilver Key is the holy grail in this game. It basically puts you into a room with 6 king metal slimes, and they can't escape. You will kill them and you will get the XP. So I got a few Quicksilver keys from going there, and then I went back to Red Rock Ravine and just did my oval circuit on Wednesdays with the elevating shoes. Did that for hours and hours, getting as many metal slimes as I can, getting as many Quicksilver keys as I can, and I was saving them up, and I was also saving up something called a bonus ball. I know I'm bringing up a lot of different features, a lot of different items in this game, so bear with me. The bonus ball just gives you like a 2-minute period where you get a lot more XP and gold. So I was saving up the bonus balls and the Quicksilver keys while doing my circuit in Red Rock Ravine and killing as many metal slimes as I could until I got to around level 80, I think. And that's when I decided on stream I was going to showcase the Quicksilver keys with the bonus ball. And before I knew it, I was level 98. And that's when chat decided, wouldn't it be very funny if I got to level 99 off a regular slime? So that's what I tried to do, but I was still far off the XP, so I was grinding a little bit more, and then I unceremoniously accidentally hit level 99, and I was a little bit disappointed.
No! I did it by accident! But let's go!
But I'm all about the content, so I reloaded my save and made it so that when I killed the very last metal slime, I reloaded the save a few times, that I'd hit the glorious level 99 off the last metal slime, just so I could have that beautiful footage for you. And there I was, level 99 with time to spare. And I even got to do a trial run of doing the legacy bosses with Dookie and Fates and Ken.
Oh no, get out of there. Get out of the circle of death! I'll heal.
Wait, this circle of death?
Hey, somebody's right beside me.
And it's all go for October 19th. So hopefully you'll be seeing this video before October 19th. If not, I hope you still enjoy it, but please, please, please consider joining the stream on the 19th. Dookie and DG have worked so hard on this, and it's in honor of a very great cause, and it's in memory of a wonderful person that I never got the pleasure of knowing. But if you want to read about Jason's story and why Dookie and DG are doing this fundraiser, I will be putting all the links and all the information that you need to know in the description. You'll also be able to catch me playing Heroes with Dookie on the 19th. It should be a really fun time. I truly believe that the grants and the research that they were able to fundraise for is indirectly affected my treatment for Crohn's and why I'm still here today. Before I started my channel, I'd spent about 2 weeks in hospital after I developed an immunity to the medication I was on, and I developed many ulcers on my colon. I wasn't able to eat for a week, and I couldn't even drink anything other than water. It was very, very grim, but pretty much at the last hurdle, I got approval for a drug called Rinvoq. That, thankfully, is the reason I'm here in front of a camera. If not for the research and the medications that have been coming out for Crohn's disease and colitis, Dragon Quest VII wouldn't have been preserved. I wouldn't be here making stupid Dragon Quest jokes on the internet. So, there you go. This is an amazing cause, and it led me to developing quite a strong connection to a game that I previously did not like. And it was a great experience for me to get back into Dragon Quest Heroes 2, give it a real good chance, and now I've pretty much changed my mind on it. It's up on the tier list now, I have to say. But yeah, I think that's all from me. Of course, if you like this video, please consider subscribing or dropping a like, following me on the Twitter, or joining me on some of my Twitch streams. And I hope I'll see all of you on the 19th. Please take good care of yourselves. But for now, my name's Gronya, and I like Dragon Quest.